Blessings, good evening. We just chanted the Paritas, auspicious verses, because it's the Uposatha Sila Day, New Moon Day. We're also this week celebrating 24 years since the land that was first offered to start this monastery was offered. It was actually December the 5th in the year 2000. It's easy to remember because it's the birthday of King Rama the 9th, who passed away a few years ago. I think the United Nations made it World Earth Day, because his name, formal name was Bhumibol Adulyadej. He means something to do with the earth, if I remember, protector of the earth. And what better way to protect the earth than to offer it to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, make a Buddhist monastery. We have many acres of forest here, and hopefully we'll be able to preserve the trees, the ponds, the area for the future, for people to practice the Dhamma. And a Buddhist monastery is a place where you have a sima, a boundary. Sometimes it's a natural boundary where you just mark out stones, rocks, trees. Here we have a formally made sima boundary in this hall. This hall is a sima, so it means we can have the ceremony to ordain new monks. We call it Sangha Kamma. Kamma made by the Sangha to introduce or bring in new candidates to the Sangha to become Buddhist monks. We've inherited the Vinaya, the monastic discipline, from the time of the Buddha, and it's very particular. There's a lot of detail about how to conduct the upasampada, or ordination ceremony, of a new bhikkhu or papacha, ordination of a new novice monk. Need a proper sima, and then you need a sangha of monks. So this is one of the values of having a monastery. You can, where you have a sangha, a group of monks living, then you can have ceremonies to introduce, bring in, admit new members. New monks can be born, as it were. When you become a novice monk and then a fully ordained Buddhist monk, you take refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha and you establish nirvana as your goal. That's the purpose of this life. The purpose of the Buddhist teachings is to help us to unbind this mind from the world. They call nibbana, one way it's described is unbinding. So normally our mind is bound up with the world, entangled in the world, stuck in the world. The world of our senses, this body, and then families and children and parents and friends, other people and society and material things, wealth and possessions, and ideas and thoughts and emotions. It's endless, the things that we're bound up with that make up our world, each individual person's world. Nibbana is none of that. Nibbana is the unbinding of all of that, or the letting go, the ultimate letting go of all that clinging and attachment. So that's what you're dedicating or committing yourself to as a goal when you become a novice or fully ordained bhikkhu. You're starting the process in a formal way, taking on precepts and the lifestyle of a monastic, shaving your head, wear the robes, and then you're committing to practice. Not that laity can't practice either, can. Lay people can keep 5 precepts, 8 precepts, take refuge in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, commit to practicing for Nibbana as well. But the monastic life, the ordained life, is particularly set up for training for Nibbana, unbinding this mind from the world. Sometimes they say when you enter the Sangha as a monastic in Thailand, they'll say, Ting lok. Ting means to throw out. Lok means the world. You're throwing out the world, throwing away the world. Sometimes in non-Buddhist countries, say a Western country, they hear that and they think, oh, if you're throwing away the world, it must mean you're rejecting the world, or you hate the world, you don't like the world. It's not that, it's just you don't need the world anymore. Once you have your mind set on Nibbana, you just don't need the world. Just like rubbish, say like orange peel or the wrapper of a sweet or something. Once you're eating the orange or eating the sweet, you don't need the wrapper or the peel. It's not that you hate orange peel when you throw it away. You're not throwing it away because you hate it and want to get rid of it. You just throw it away because you don't need it. And that's the way a Buddhist monastic looks at the world. It's not that you hate the world, but you just don't need it. You don't need to go out and earn money and buy things and get married and have babies and do all the things that normal people do. You don't need to do that because you're now focused on Nibbana. So perhaps a more polite way might be you're setting aside the world, like you set aside a sweet wrapper or an orange peel. But literally you're throwing it out because you don't need it. Of course, how long your mind can see that with clarity depends, because sometimes the world comes sneaking back into your thinking, and rather than throwing away the world, you think, I want to go back to the world and have more of the world, more orange peel and sweet wrappers. But if you're focused on cultivating the path, the Dhamma, the Vinaya, the Noble Eightfold Path for Nibbana, for the ending of suffering, then you keep this commitment to practice and you keep this perception that the world is something to be done away with, finished with. You don't need it anymore. You don't need to go back to be happy. But it takes effort, takes practice. You might say hard work, but not so much hard work in the way of physically doing things, although it's a physical thing as well when you're practicing Dhamma. Hard work in the meaning training your mind to abandon those thoughts that still want the world and get lost and deluded by the world. Still hesitant to give up the orange peel, thinking, maybe I could still use this. But it's suffering, the world. To be bound up with the world is suffering, it's heavy. That heaviness is you experience in your mind, but it feels heavy to be attached to the world. Whereas Nibbana doesn't feel heavy at all, it's completely lightweight, happy, peaceful. They say the mind that's seen or knows Nibbana is happy, it's the smiling mind. In Thai say chit yim, because it's put down the burden, it's unbinding, unbound from the burden of the world. no longer carrying around the world like a heavy weight. If you were carrying heavy shopping bags or some rocks or some timber or something heavy, and then you've been carrying it for a long time, so you're exhausted, and then you finally put it down, you'd probably feel relief and you'd probably be happy, smiling. And that's the mind of Nibbana, smiling. But to get to that point, we need to practice. We need to do the work of the practice. And often we're facing layers of delusion. Say like you come into the monastery, take precepts, whether it's 8 precepts, 10 precepts, 227 precepts, and you start practicing meditation, training in mindfulness, clear comprehension, reflecting on the Dhamma to develop wisdom and understanding. And you do that, but there'll be layers of attachment and clinging that you encounter. And you might think, some people, they practice to a level and they think, I'm enlightened already. But then later on they realize, still attached. It's just that first they hadn't seen those attachments. It's a bit like living here in the mountain. The winters here, cold, wet, damp. So you get slime and scum and mold on the concrete pathways and the tiles that are outside, exposed to the weather. So once in a while we clean up the concrete and the tiles using pressure washer, because it's got pressure. You get water and you force it through a hose under pressure so you can clean things. So you spray the concrete or the tiles and the scum comes off. Maybe not at first, though. You have to keep spraying, keep the machine going, keep spraying, and a little bit comes off first, and then a little bit more. And sometimes you might spray and completely clean up one area and you think, that's it, I've done it. And then someone else comes along, maybe they've done it before, and they know, no, that's not it. You've just got one layer of the mold off. There's actually more there you can see. There's still some dark bits in the sort of impregnated into the concrete or the tiles. It's just at first you don't realize. You think it's clean already, but it's not. There's more there. So you have another go, or they have another go, and you get a whole lot more off. And sometimes you clean a concrete floor, it might take several efforts with the pressure cleaner before you feel it's clean enough, and probably never completely get it clean, because concrete it's porous, it has pores and holes, and it's not even, so you get some parts which seem clean, others still have some dark mold in them. So you're forever spraying to clean. And our mind is like that. You meditate and you get peaceful, you say, I'm so peaceful, maybe I'm enlightened, close to enlightenment. And then you realize later, actually there's still a lot of clinging attachment here. I'm still bound up with the world. It's just when I was peaceful I didn't realize. So the Buddha and our teachers, Ajahn Chah, Luang Por Man, they all have the same message. They say don't become complacent or content, because you may have let go of some things and achieve some level of peace and happiness, but probably there's more that you need to let go of. The work is not done yet. Whatever peace you have is temporary. You need to use that pressure cleaner, or the insight, the mindfulness, the insight that you develop in meditation. You have to use it more and root out a bit more of your mold, or the unwholesome states of mind that are subtly affecting the way we think, the way we view the world. You have to keep practicing. Or like windows could be the same, isn't it? You clean a window and you think, oh, you got everything off, and then the sun comes out and you realise, oh, there's still a lot of dust and finger marks and grease on the window. It's just, in normal light you don't see it, so it looks clean, but then the sunlight is so strong, it highlights all the dirt. Our mind is like that. In the beginning you experience moments of peace and you think, oh, my mind is peaceful now, that's good, carry on with life, no problem. But under the light of mindfulness and wisdom, if you keep practicing, keep meditating, keep looking, learning, then those finger marks and different kinds of dirt start to become exposed. And what you thought was peaceful before, you realise, it's not that peaceful. There's still underneath, layers underneath, there's still attachment. There's still clinging, delusion, greed, anger, delusion. You can still have suffering. You thought you didn't have any more suffering, but you do. It's just it might only take certain conditions. When the conditions are right, your suffering comes out. Then you realise, oh, I thought I was beyond that, and then you're angry. I thought I was beyond that, and then greed or selfishness comes up. You realise, no, I wasn't beyond that. I'm still bound up with the world. I'm not unbound, I'm not free. What the Buddha pointed out is wherever you are still attached to the world, you'll suffer. It's like you're a slave. Your mind is a slave to the world. So material things are more obvious. You buy something, then you think, this is mine, I own this. But if you lose it, or it breaks, something goes wrong, you suffer, you're not happy. Or you buy something, even if it's still in good condition, you just get used to it. And you lose the happiness of the pleasure of having just bought something new. And your mind is looking for the next thing. Someone was telling me they had this problem today. They had a lot of stress in their life, so they were using shopping as stress relief. They go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff, clothes and things, come home, feel happy. Next day, oh, want more. Just got to get something new. That's just one way we relieve stress, and it does relieve it, but not for very long. And it costs money, and then you've got to go and earn the money again. And you end up with a cupboard full of clothes and shoes, half of which you probably can't wear because there's too much. But you're not happy, you're still unsatisfied. It's the same with anything, isn't it? You're always buying, consuming more things, different kinds of food, music. You're addicted to things, alcohol, gambling, whatever. We just keep looking for more high, more happiness, better, bigger, newer, but never satisfied. That even happens with people who meditate for nibbana, because you get some peace and you think, this is it, I've got my peace, nothing more bothering me. And then a day later you realise, where did the peace go? It's gone. Back to thinking and worrying and angry and upset and bored. The peace doesn't last. It's impermanent. So you need more wisdom, more mindfulness to see that and recognise, oh, that's still another delusion. It may be a subtle delusion, a subtle attachment. So it's not necessarily an evil, bad thing. It's just there's still some attachment there. The pleasure of samadhi. One of the hardest things to let go of. The attachment to the pleasure of jhana. Knowledge also. Knowledge of the Dhamma. Understanding the Dhamma. Now I understand. So you walk around for a while thinking, now I understand. And then later on you have some more suffering. Maybe someone else comes along who knows more than you or can explain it better than you or see something that you can't see. And the conceit, the self-view is not happy. Even though previously you thought you knew a lot. Then you realise you don't know so much. So your conceit, your ego is stirred up. and you realize, oh, still suffering. So we're forever scraping away, rubbing away, trying to get the mold, the dirt off our mind through the practice. And we can get the coarse, obvious stuff first, but the subtle ones, maybe that we have to work at it and be very patient, keep going. You can never sit back, like Ajahn Chah used to say, you can never say, oh, I'm enlightened, I'll just stop practicing, put my feet up. That's what we want, because that's the way of the world, isn't it? When you're tired and you've done a day's work, you want to sit back and relax in some way or other, or go on holiday, or go shopping, or whatever. That's the way of the world. It doesn't work. It's only temporary. But even Dhamma practitioners are like that. Oh, I'll put my feet up. Now I don't need to meditate, don't need to sit there with a restless mind and painful knees. I'll just sit back, relax. But then all the defilements come back again. So Ajahn Chah used to say, don't be complacent, don't just sit back, you have to keep practicing, really commit to it and be very patient. Keep going, looking, observing, learning. But if you see the value of that, then it's pleasurable to actually learn, even to see where you went wrong before, to learn from your mistakes. It's pleasurable, enjoyable. Because you know you're cleaning something up, you're cleaning your mind up. You're removing the causes for further suffering. Every time you develop some insight, you're going to remove the suffering, or the causes for suffering. If you understand what you're doing, then it's enjoyable, even when it's hard work, even when you have to let go of something you really like. He used to say you could compare Nibbana, somebody who's practiced and attained Nibbana, to somebody who's gone out, earned money, and then built their own house. They put all that love and effort into building their dream home. Cost lots of money, they had to earn lots of money, and then bought all the materials and maybe had to pay people to help them. Architect design it, every room is just how you want, and the colour scheme and the furniture and the landscaping and the shape and the size and everything is just how you like. And then you give it away. So Nibbana is like that. It's the same kind of thing. You build up this life, this sense of self in the world, and then you give it away. And that's why so few people reach Nibbana. Nobody's really ready to give anything away. Nobody's ready to throw out the orange peel. We want the orange and the peel. I don't know why, but we do. Maybe it's just a bad habit. Don't want to give anything up. We want to keep all these things that cause us suffering. We still want to hold on to them, even though it's suffering. So, we're celebrating 24 years since the land was first offered by the Su family to begin this monastery. It's been a place of practice, Dhamma Vinaya, both for Sangha and laity, something to be happy about. Many good things have been done, but many more good things still need to be done. Our practice is not finished yet, so it's kind of like we can't sit back, but we can appreciate the good things that have been done. But we also have to set our mind on our goal to continue practicing for the future, while we still have our life, our health, our body. What did the Buddha say? We're really, as long as you're breathing, you can practice the Dhamma. Even if you're lying in bed ill or weak or very old maybe, you can still practice, especially if you've learned how to practice mindfulness of breathing. You can be mindful in bed or on your deathbed even. While you can still think, you can have a good thought and abandon a bad thought. You can have a thought of kindness and abandon a thought of anger. As long as you can think, you can do that. Even if your body is getting really old or sick or in pain, you can still think, you can still breathe. As long as you can still eat food, you can be mindful of eating food. Don't be greedy. Or give your food away, maybe. I know monks who have given away their food on their deathbed because they don't need it anymore. They just give it away for someone else. So as long as we're still alive, we can still practice the Dhamma. There's still more to do. So maybe make your commitment to keep practicing, and it will bring you more happiness now and for the future. So I'll leave you with these reflections tonight.